Are you looking for some Christmas in July crafts that you can do on a very tiny budget? Well, stay tuned. Hi, my name is Leslie and welcome to Happy Tuesday, where we do crafts and DIY and home decor and more. Today I have for you 5 super cute projects that you can make on a super small budget. Now, don't forget to stick around until the very end and I'll have a hint on one of next week's projects. So grab your favorite beverage and let's get crafting. Here is a quick sneak peek into all 5 of today's projects. I am so excited to share these with you today. And that will bring us to project number 1. So this project is made using 4 of the Dollar Tree crates. And then I bought these little round discs at, I want to say it was dirt cheap whenever they were going out of business. But if you can find something about 1.5 or 2 inches, or you could use some of your outdoor store things and cut some little twigs real thin. And then we are going to paint those black for the tires or wheels on our train, and we are going to paint all the boxes red. Now, of course, you can paint your Christmas train any colors you want. Those are just the ones that I used. I'm going to go ahead and grab some silver paint. I believe this is Craft Smart. I got at Michael's in their little clearance section. And I am going to paint on some wheel details. Now you can use any color paint you want for that as well. Next we are going to grab some scrap wood and a little scrap, I want to say it was a piece out of a ribbon center to make our train engine look like an engine. So the scrap bread pieces will be where the conductor would normally sit. And what I'm working on right now is the smokestack. So we're going to use some of that air dry clay. I like to get this at Walmart. Besides the fact that I love the way it feels, it dries super white and takes paint really well. After you get your smokestack looking the way you want, we're going to start gluing some of these pieces together while that is drying. And I'm using that wood glue by Super Glue. Love, love, love that stuff that you can buy at Dollar Tree. While that is drying, I am going to paint our smokestack and then glue this little housing onto our engine. Then we'll glue our smokestack on and set those aside to dry. The next detail that we are going to be working on are little, we're going to call them rails. So I took some tumbling tower blocks and painted those the same silver as I painted on the wheels. And that will give my wheels something to sit on when we glue them on, so that they, don't look funny sitting totally on the box or off a balance. So I made them look like rails, and then I'm just using the extra tumbling tower block to kind of get them all in the same position on every single car. Our video today is on a Christmas Inspirations open playlist hosted by Lolly at Lolly D's Creations, Katie of Lady Red Crafting, and co-hosted by Favi, Creations by Favi. Now the playlist will be linked in the comments below, as will be our hosts' channels. Thank you so much for allowing me to be a part of this playlist. Now I'm going to grab one more scrap piece of wood, and I chose to paint mine green, giving me that Christmassy vibe. And then I made Santa's Express and cut it out on my Cricut Joy. I love Cricut Joy. And, I got lucky this week, and in that clearance section at Walmart, I found some of the vinyl. It was $3 a piece. Then I'm just going to rough up my edges a little bit on my Santa's Express sign and get that glued on, and this project is complete. Now, when you get ready to decorate for Christmas, you could put all kinds of things in your little train cars. I was thinking, maybe some toys, or maybe some little characters. I don't know. Maybe we'll do some things for Christmas at Christmas time to go into our little train.
I love it, and I hope you guys love it too.
I just wanted to pop in here real quick and say thank you. I so appreciate that you've taken time to spend with me today. Now, if you're not already a subscriber, I hope you'll consider hitting that subscribe button and clicking the bell below so that you'll be notified every time I upload a new video, and you'll help my channel grow. Give today's video a big ol' thumbs up, share it with your friends, and comment down below. Now, let's get back to crafting.
That brings us to project number 2. I love the way this turned out. So elegant. So here are some different options of trees. You can use that plastic craft foam or the little traffic cones or the little paper mache trees. You could make a cone of your own, but this sea glass is super heavy. I'm going to use the little styrofoam cone that you can get at the Dollar Tree. And all these little packets of sea glass I actually bought at the Dollar Tree as well. For purposes of purchasing, if you want to make this, I used for this styrofoam piece a little over 2 packages of the sea glass. Now, this is really just a fun puzzle activity, we'll say, because you're trying to make sure that you don't have too many white sections showing, and so you're trying to find pieces that kind of fit in the little slots. The sea glass does cut pretty well with my little cutters there from Harbor Freight, so if you do need to cut down or rearrange pieces, you can use that. And then we are using hot glue, but on the low temperature setting, because otherwise you'll melt your styrofoam. And so just, throw something on the TV that you're binge watching and have a little fun puzzle time. And that's pretty much all there is to this craft. So we are going to go ahead and put sea glass all the way up our styrofoam. I did leave the top empty for now. And then I had these little stars that I bought. They're, like sea stars, whatever, that I bought at Dollar Tree in their little beach section. And we are going to use that as the topper to our tree. So in order to stick it in the top of the styrofoam, I cut myself a little skewer there and then hot glued that directly onto the star. Then I am going to grab some white chalk paint and we are going to paint that wood stick, because when we cover it up with that clear sea glass piece that I just found, we don't want the wood stick showing through. So we're going to go ahead and get that covered up with a little bit of white chalk paint and then put that inside the styrofoam. Then I am going to grab that clear piece of sea glass again and get it glued on there, and that'll kind of be the top of the tree. Then to cover up the rest of the styrofoam, I'm going to go ahead and glue on some little small pieces. And here you can see I just took those cutters, they're little wire cutters, and cut that little piece of sea glass. And then I thought it needed a bottom, and so I just took one of these little white birch. I think they're white birch. And last week I said pine several times when I was talking about the snowman, but it was white birch. Anyway, took a little white birch piece and glued it onto the bottom as a little tree trunk, and I love the way this turned out. I think this is just super cute and very elegant. Now that brings us to project number 3. I love this too. So I am going to take some of this white macrame cord and the red macrame cord. And if you don't have any left over from the 4th of July feather hanging that we made, then I will have it linked below which ones that I used. You're going to need 8 white pieces that are about 9 inches each and 8 red pieces that are about 6.5 inches a piece. 16 and a half inches. And then we're going to use a little dowel that's about a 3/8 inch. Wow, am I having trouble or what? 3/8 inch dowel that's a little over 4 inches long. And you can see I took that one red piece and folded it over and slipped the ends through, and then we are going to go ahead and separate out our white pieces. And in that little loop that we left, we're going to put the white pieces and fold those in half and then pull it all taut. We're going to do that 5 more times. So you're going to have a total of 6 of these at the bottom of your, not at the bottom, and connected to your little dowel there. So again, we're going to just separate out the white. It just makes combing it all out easier at the end. That's the only reason why I'm doing it. And then we'll make that little loop and put in our white piece and pull it tight. Now you can see I did the, I had this one under where the other one was over, if you can notice that. So we're just going to change it so that they're all over. So you just want your little knots to be in the same direction across the whole dowel. So we're going to go back in. I'm going to show you one more time. We've separated out our white pieces. We'll set those aside. Then we're going to take our red piece. We're going to put it over, put it through, put the little white pieces through, and pull it taut. All right, so 3 more times we're going to go ahead and do that. So now you have a total of 6 of those. Now with our last 2 pieces, we're going to do the very same first step. So we're going to go ahead and put that on. But instead of the white piece going through both ends, it's only going to go through the end that goes towards the middle. So on the right, it'll go on the left side, and on the left one, it'll go on the right side. That way it ends up in with the beard, and then you have the red piece that is out on the edge kind of. So there we go. We're going to have that one little piece here where we're going to put our little beard piece in, and then we're going to pull that taut, making sure that our ends are as even as they can be. And then I am going to just stretch everything out and make sure they're all even and set. Now I'm going to use this little clipboard because it is the greatest vehicle to hold these together so that we can start macrameing. Now this is just a simple stitch, macrame stitch, is that what they're called? And it's just going to go the 4 pieces. The one on the left goes under, the one on the right goes over and through. And then we're going to do that 2 times. Then we're going to go to the next 4, and we're going to do the same thing. The one that's on the left goes under, the one that's on the right goes under and through, or over and through, and pull that taut. And so we're going to do that a second time on this, and then we've got 2 more times to do it. So separate out your next section of 4, and it's going to be the same thing: over, under, through, pull it taut, and then on the last one as well. Now for the next row, we're going to take the 2 outside pieces and separate those, and then separate what's left into sections of 4. And then we're going to do the same thing: over, under, through with the outside pieces. So the left piece goes over, the right piece goes through and over, and we're going to do the same thing again. And we'll do that twice for this next row on each section of 4. Once you get to the next row, we are going to separate out 4 to each side, and we're going to do it with the center pieces that we have left over, and we're only going to do 2 of those. So you've got 4 over to the side, and then you're going to pull this taut and do 2 stitches, then our next 4 and do 2 stitches, and then we'll pull it all together, and that's going to make Santa's hat. All right, now you're going to grab a little bit of baker's twine, and you are going to set that on there, cut a length of it off, and so we'll pull all our pieces together, and then we'll set one lone piece going down, and then fold it over and have kind of like a loop at the top, and then you're going to wrap it around. I want to say 5, 6, 7, 8 times, whatever you think you need to do, and then you're going to pull that little string through that loop, and that will tighten it up. Then we'll trim that off. Now to make our little hanger, we are going to make a bigger loop and just make a knot in the bottom of that, pull that tight, and then you're going to pull the string around and knot it again to keep it in place, so that way your little hanger is in the center. And then you'll trim off your little end piece that you got left, and there's your hanger. Now we'll take the red pieces and we're going to trim till there's only about an inch, maybe inch and a half at the top, and we'll brush that out. That'll be the top of Santa's hat, and then trim off any fuzzy pieces that you want to, so that it'll make it kind of a clean little fluff ball there. And then we are going to brush out the beard, and next we're going to get ready to make his mustache. Now be careful when you brush this out, since we've already loosened all those pieces. They could come out, so you don't want to brush too hard there. All right, we're going to take it's about a 1/2 inch bead and about 6 inches of cord. We're going to cut this down, but 6 inches gives you enough to play with. And then we are going to thread that macrame cord through the center of the bead, pulling it out so that you have equal amounts on both sides. Then we'll go ahead and fray it out, and this will be Santa's mustache. Once you've got it frayed out, you can go ahead and brush that and just kind of make it smooth. And if you so desired his mustache to be a little thicker, you could try to run another one through, or run 2 when you ran it through. And then a dab of hot glue there on the bead, and glue it in between the hat and the beard. Now we're going to brush Santa's beard out again, and then trim off the mustache, adding a little bit of hot glue on either side of the bead just to hold that mustache in place. And now we'll go ahead and trim Santa's beard however you would like to trim it. I'm going to give it kind of an oval little shape, and then we'll get it cleaned up a little bit. And that is all there is to this project. I love it. And you could make this bigger or smaller depending on how big or small your dowel is and how many pieces you have. But I think this is just a super simple, cute little Santa, and it could be used as an ornament or a little wall hanging, whatever you like. And that brings us to project number 4. Isn't this adorable? So this is just a couple of scrap pieces of wood. They're leftover paint stir sticks from other projects I've done. And we're going to cut those into small pieces, and then cut the small pieces in half. And that will be our snowman's hat. The other piece is just one of those little wood pallet looking things that you can buy from the Dollar Tree. So you got about $1.25 into this so far. Now once we have our little pieces cut, we're going to paint this palette white. And I am using Snow White chalk paint by Waverly. I'm going to get the ends and the in-betweens as well, everything that's going to show. Then we're going to grab, and I didn't get real fussy with it. You can kind of give it a kind of rustic look there. I'm going to grab those those little pieces and paint them black. And then we are going to just paint some black on our little palette there. And again, you don't have to get too fussy with that. And I painted some shorter and some longer. Now I'm grabbing my paint markers, and this is the Paint Marker brand by Hobby Lobby. And we are going to paint on some eyeballs. Now you could also just use a small paintbrush if you don't have any paint markers. And then I'm going to use the paint marker, or you can use your paint in the color orange to give them little funky carrot noses. So we're just going to go in there and draw those noses the best you can. And if you don't like the way you draw, you could either cut out little noses, maybe on your cutting machine, or you could draw them on and then paint. Now I am using some twine to wrap at the brims of our hats, and so we're just going to wrap that and get that hot glued into place, since our brims are kind of off-centered. and that'll give it a little bit of texture and a little bit more interest there. Once we've got that done, I'm going to take my handy dandy black Dollar Tree ink pad, and I'm just going to kind of rustic up the bottom of our little snowman there, and then I've got some puff paint, and I just added it on and tapped it down to make it look like falling snow. Here's another detail I'm adding, just a little bit of twine at the bottom, and then glue that on. I just went around 3 times. And then I'm going to grab some little pine cones. I bought these little mini pine cone berry pick things at Hobby Lobby last year on clearance. So instead of $3.99, I think they cost me 39 cents. And I'm going to cut the pine cones off and then cut those in half and break it down just a little bit so I have a little pine cone, and we are going to decorate the tops of all 4 of their hats. So I'm going to do the same thing, grabbing another pine cone and making sure to get that little metal piece out that's holding it on the pick, and then I'm going to cut 4 little berry pieces and glue those on, and this will be complete. Now if you want to hang this up, even though it's kind of a smaller piece, then you can glue a hanger onto the back. I'm just using mine as kind of a little shelf sitter. It'll probably sit in my tiered tray with all my little snowman pieces. And I think this turned out so adorable. I love the way this turned out. What do you guys think? Let me know in the comments below. That brings us to our final project, project number 5. I am loving this gingerbread. So I grabbed some scrap fabrics and some little bells. Now those bells came from the Dollar Tree last year. And we are going to make them look kind of rusty. So I know there is a technique where you can use vinegar and let it sit and it'll kind of rust those out. But there's another technique. We're going to put some Mod Podge on the bell and then sprinkle some cinnamon. Now this is just cinnamon for my crafting room, not anything I'm cooking with. And I'm going to do a couple of coats of cinnamon, and then we're going to finish it off with 1 more coat of Mod Podge, and that'll kind of give it a shiny little appearance and also hold all that cinnamon in place. And I'm going to do that for all 3 of these bells. Now this burlap fabric I actually bought at Hobby Lobby. They have it in their section of fabric. I think it's $3.99 a yard, so it's super cheap. And I like this one better than the Dollar Tree burlap that comes in the roll, because you don't have as the weave is finer, and so you don't have the holes like you do on that other burlap. But you're welcome to use that other burlap from the Dollar Tree as well. I drew out a pattern. Now I folded my 2 pieces of paper that I put together with some tape, folded them in half so that both sides of my gingerbread came out exactly the same, and then using that as our pattern, I am going to have folded over my burlap so that we're cutting 2 pieces at once using the same pattern that I just cut out. That way both of your sides of this little throw pillow gingerbread will be the same for when you glue it together. Get that all cut out and put my pins away, and then we will get on to gluing. Now for this I am going to, I forgot, I took this little scrap piece of muslin and we are going to use this as a chef's cap, so I went ahead and cut that out. Now I am going to be using the fabric hot glue, even though it's really not necessary to use fabric hot glue because I don't intend on washing this. But if you wanted to be able to wash it, the fabric hot glue is washable, and it is made by Surebonder. I can't find it usually at Walmart, but I think you can usually find it at Hobby Lobby. Or you can order it on Amazon. But if you want to make something that you could otherwise sew together so that it is washable, then that Sure Bonder fabric glue works great. All right, I'm using my cheap pillow stuffing to stuff it, and you can stuff it as little or as much as you like. I'm just giving it I'd say a medium stuffing, and then sealing up my top edge. So make sure when you're gluing it together that you leave yourself a whole top edge to be able to get it stuffed, and then you can kind of fill that in. Now I went ahead and used a little bit of that fabric hot glue to kind of glue some of the strings that were coming apart on my burlap, and it kind of glued the seams. That way those seams won't be running. And then I did grab a needle and some thread, and I'm just going to do a back and forth motion about a half an inch in between. It wasn't anything I did fussy to be able to make the top of our chef's cap. I tried to do this part with the fabric glue, and it just didn't pleat really well. And so the needle and thread worked perfect for getting that done. And then we're just going to finish that off, bringing it together around our little gingerbread's head. And then you can kind of pleat that up the way you want it to be. A little bit more of that hot glue on the end to seal it up, and then we'll trim that off so that it's even. I lost some footage here doing my little band that's going to be the bottom band, but I started with this scrap from Hobby Lobby, kind of a red and white stripe ticking fabric, and we're going to cut off a length of that. And then we are going to use the liquid stitch to make some seams on that. So you can see I made a seam on the bottom and a seam on the top, and then ironed those together with that liquid stitch, and then folded it in half so that it's really easy to go on to the next section. And you can see I've already started gluing there, so you're going to glue some on the inside, and it'll be on the other side of that fold. And we are just going to bring this around, all the way around the top of our chef, or the bottom. This is going to be the base of our chef's cap. So a little bit of glue on the outside and put that side, and then a little bit of glue on the inside, and you'll put your fold over piece. And then when you get to the end, then you can just trim off what you don't need. So we're going to go ahead and give that a quick trim. I am going to finish off the edge with a little bit of hot glue there. And then we're going to glue that to the bottom and to the inside. So it was super simple. If you sew, you can definitely sew this. It doesn't have to be glued. It's just easier for me to glue than to grab my sewing machine and get it out to do this. Now for the pleats at the top, I did actually hot glue those. So we're going to put a little bit of glue and then just kind of gather a little bit of the edge together, and just be careful. That glue, just like any hot glue, is hot. So you don't want to burn yourself with that as you're coming around. So if you have those little silicone finger thingies that you can buy at the Dollar Tree, definitely put those on for this part. I did not, and ended up with a lot of glue on, especially my thumb for some reason. So we're going to get those all glued together, and then we're going to glue the middle together, and then the outside edge, and then a kind of a fold over edge just to have it finished at the top. And that is our little chef's cap, and then we will attach that onto our gingerbread here in a minute. Now I've got a different scrap fabric that kind of had a very similar hue of red to it, and I'm going to make a pocket out of this. And so we're going to do the seam method, and this is the same seam method that I did for the brim of that little chef's hat. So I fold it over and then iron it using my little mini press, and then add that liquid stitch, and then iron it again, and that seals that liquid stitch so that, again, it is washable and it won't come out. So make sure that you have your seams where you want them, and then we will go ahead and glue on his pocket in a minute, and now we are going to make him a little bow tie. So I cut a length of fabric, and then I'm going to do the same fold over method for making the ends finished. And this is going to be the band for our bow tie, and then we're going to use our Cricut mini press again to press out all the seams on this piece of fabric. And I started with little seams and went to bigger seams to finish off the ends because the bow ended up too big. And when it was all said and done, I felt like it was a little too small, but it was done. So we're going to finish off the end and bring those together into a circle, and then we're going to use that little piece we set aside to pull the center of the bow together, giving that a nice little portion of glue, hot glue, so that we can fold that over and keep that together, and then hot glue that directly onto our gingerbread. We're going to glue on his pocket, and I left the top open so that I could put some stuff in his pocket if I wanted, you know, a candy cane or something like along those lines, a little Christmassy. And then we're going to use that fabric hot glue and glue on his little bell buttons we made. Last thing to finish him off is to glue on his hat so that it stays in place. But if you want his hat to be removable, you definitely don't have to glue it. And there he is. I love him, and I think he'll look so cute sitting in my little window seat with my red pillows at Christmas time. What do you guys think? Let me know in the comments below. And also let me know in the comments below which winter ones was your favorite or favorites, and which winter ones you might like to try to recreate. Here is our final look of all of today's projects. I just think they all turned out so stinking cute. What do you guys think? Let me know in comments below. And if you do create or recreate anything, please send me pictures. I love to see y'all's creations. And I think you guys are so creative, and you take the inspiration and take it to the next level, and I love to see that. You know, sometimes your recreations with your bit of creativity help inspire me for some new project or a new take on an old project. So keep those pictures coming to happytuesdaydiy@gmail.com. Now don't forget to check out that playlist and show those ladies some love. I am very fortunate to be in a community of amazing creators.
Thank you so much for hanging out with me today. I really did enjoy our time together. Now, since you stuck around until the very end, here's your hint on one of next week's projects. You are going to need some scrap burlap and twine. You are going to need some little wooden balls or beads and some little terracotta pots. But until then, make it a great day and Happy Tuesday!